Hey everybody, it's Chad from Six Blog. Today I want to do a video and talk about a new shelter I got. A lot of you may know I've been posting it over on my blog's Facebook page. I recently got a Laurel Designs Cuben fiber Duomid and the Cuben fiber solo internet. And I wanted to take the time just kind of do a video this morning. As most of you know, it probably won't go real quick, but I wanted to take time and just kind of talk about it, set it up, and talk about it a little bit more. I want to say that first off, I am not replacing per se my Z-Pax Hexamid Solo Plus tarp and my Z-Pax Hexanet. I still have full intention of keeping this. I've gotten a few emails asking me if I wanted to sell this. Just to put it out there, no, I'm not looking to sell this setup. I'm going to keep it. Still going to use it. The reason I went with this though is to have options as to which one I carry on which trip. So sorry guys, I'm hanging on to this. I still love this setup. It's a great setup, and in a lot of ways both of these setups are pretty much the same setup. One of them just offers a little bit more protection and even privacy, if that's important, than the other. So to start off, the reason I even like these kind of systems as opposed to some other, like maybe just a freestanding tent or something, and don't get me wrong, I'd love to be quite honest, I'd love to have one of the big Agnes, like the Fly Creek or something like that. But I really like, first off, supporting the cottage manufacturers, which everybody knows MLD and Z-Pax is two of the biggest cottage manufacturers there are, at least in the States. But I enjoy supporting those manufacturers. Also, you're not going to find many big name companies that are actually building stuff with Cuben fiber. And Cuben fiber is my choice, my preference when it comes to shelters. Especially for the canopy, which is the top part of the tent. To be quite honest, I still don't think that Cuben fiber is the best option for a floor. And that's funny saying that because both of these, the floors on both of these are Cuben fiber. This one's 1 ounce per square yard Cuben, and MLD uses 0.74 or 0.75 ounce per square yard. But I still think that seal nylon is a better material for a floor. But like I said, both of these have Cuben fiber. And because of that, due to that, I do use just a small piece of polycro to put underneath it. This is just kind of cut to size. I can't tell you the exact measurements, but it's really just kind of big enough to fit up underneath my sleeping pad. And it doesn't even extend out all the way to the head and the foot because most of the weight, the brunt, the force and everything is going to be around the, from my torso down to about just above my knees. So that's the areas that I'm really looking forward to making sure I'm protecting the Cuben fiber floor with this, if that makes sense. So anyway, I've used this for the last couple of years. I absolutely love it. The only reason that I went and picked up this one is because not a lot of times, but in bad weather, rainy weather, I have found myself wishing that I had more vestibule space that was protected with this setup than this setup offers. And I would like that for simple things like, I could get if I've got my jet boil, I can grab my jet boil, set it up. I'm underneath everything. I got plenty of room. I can cook, and I'm completely sheltered from the elements. With this one, if it's raining real bad and stuff, I didn't have a lot of extra vestibule space, I guess is a good way to put it, to do things like that. So, for several years, I've been wanting to get a Duomid with the solo inner. I love the idea of being able to set up my living quarters or my sleeping quarters in the back half of the shelter, and then having the entire front half of the shelter that's wide open, that I can put my backpack, any other gear that I may have that I don't want to carry in the tent with me, which usually isn't much anyway, but if there is any of that, and plus, like I said, I can actually cook in. And then there's the whole modular thing too. That's something that really attracts me to both of these setups. If I want to, I can choose to set up just the internet on either setup. I can set up just the tarp if I want to on either setup, or I can set up both pieces together. It's also nice because on both of these I can set up the tarp and then I can crawl up underneath it and set up the inner underneath it while I'm kind of protected from any rain that may be going on. So that's important to me too. Of course, both of these use my trekking pole. I've really been carrying this black diamond. It's one that I took the handle off of and put the Gossamer gear grips on. And this one will work for both of them. Of course, with the Duomid, you do have to use a pole jack, or you can use some rocks or something like that, but I'm going to use the supplied pole jack for the time being. Both setups require one pole. However, with the Duomid, I can use two poles and kind of angle it. That's something I'm just going to have to play with over time. I just got this week, so I haven't really had a lot of time to play with it. Anyway, I have a trip coming up next week, and there's a lot of variables. My son may be coming with me. It looks like there may be rain the entire time. Who knows what's going to happen by the time I actually go, but I'm looking right now at potentially carrying the Duomid and using this as its first trip for me. But there's a couple of things going to play into factor, so I may actually not carry it, but I'm wanting to, and I'm looking forward to it, and I think I am. So we'll see how that goes. So I also want to talk about weights, because weight is something that's really important, especially whenever you think about Cuben fiber. You know, that's something, if somebody's buying Cuben fiber, they're probably going to be a more, I hate to say weight-oriented hiker, but they probably do have weight somewhere in their list of needs. So I want to talk about weights on these. Just to throw it out there, my Z-Packs, my Hexamid Solo Plus tarp weighs 7 ounces for the stuff sack, the tarp, and the guy lines. 7 ounces. And then for the setup that I've got here, this is the Hexamid, and this stuff sack. Of course, they do have the guy lines and everything attached, and I've actually put a few extra attachments on there other than what the stock one offers. But anyway, this comes in at 9.6 ounces. So the total weight, so the total weight of both of these pieces is 16.6 ounces. And whenever I carry this, I usually carry, like I said, this piece of polypro, and that's an extra 1.1 ounces. And then the stakes that I carry is around 2.5 ounces. So when I carry this setup, I'm right at exactly 20 ounces for the entire setup. And of course, that's 1 pound, 4 ounces, or 1 1/4 pounds. The Duomid is obviously a bigger shelter, so it's going to come in at a little bit heavier weight. This is the Duomid, and you'll see everything that I have on it when I set it up and show you. For the stuff sack, all the guy lines I have in here, and the Duomid, for everything in this package, it is 16.1 ounces. For the Hexanet, not the Hexanet, for the Solo Internet Cuben fiber, and all the guy lines and everything I have in here in the stuff sack, it comes in at 8.1 ounces. So if you're keeping up with that, that's 24.2 ounces for these two pieces versus 16.6 ounces for these. So there's about a ½ pound difference in these two pieces just for that. Now I do carry a few extra stakes, and like I said, I have to carry a pole jack, so that's going to add a little extra weight to the Duomid. Actually, let me take it back. I don't carry extra stakes. I just carry different stakes. For the stakes, for everything I have here, this is 4.4 ounces, and I'm probably going to kind of sew this bag up a little bit to make it a little different, but anyway, it's 4.4 ounces. So if you take into consideration the weight of the Duomid, the Internet, everything I've got here, and this, I'm looking at about 29.7 ounces. So again, that's 9.7 ounces heavier than my Hexanet. So you can see there is a pretty big difference in it. Just to show you real quick, and I apologize for all the noise, I'm trying to cut out most of it. But just to show you what I'm using, I've got 4 of these. These are the 8-inch Easton Nano stakes. I've got 8 of Lawson Klein's tie shepherd hook stakes. And then of course I have the pole jack that came from MLD. And I use the 4 Easton stakes around the perimeter of the Duomid, and then these I use for the extra tie-out points and the mid-points around the Duomid, and then also for the Internet. So I'm going to adjust this, and I'm going to go ahead and set up the Internet, or the Duomid, and we'll take a closer look at it then. So hang on. Okay, so in staking out the Duomid, they suggest staking out the back two corners first. And according to the site, they say to stake them out medium tight. So I just pull enough slack to make sure that it's pretty tight. This third stake is actually going to be the whole key to getting the shelter set up correctly. You want to make sure you have a 90-degree angle. So you can't really just kind of pull this corner tight. You need to line it up to make sure that that's at a 90-degree angle back there, because if you don't get it right, that's going to throw off the whole setup. And once you get that one correct, setting up this one should be as simple as just kind of pulling it tight, and you should still see the 90-degree angle at this side and at this corner here. Okay, next, just unzipping the door and going in and setting up the trekking pole. And that's it. Next, I just use the shepherd hook stakes. Just pull these out to kind of give them a little bit of tension. And that's it. So there you go. There is the Cuben fiber Duomid. As you saw, it's not super hard to put up at all. It's pretty easy. And then you can see by putting the stakes out there on the corners or in the middle on the sides, it actually kind of creates like an eyebrow. It kind of opens up the edge so that a little bit of wind can come in from each side. And that's what's going to give you some airspace along all four edges. And then of course there is a vent up here. It is not got any mesh or anything. It's completely exposed. You can take out there's a little stiffener up inside there that you can pull out and Velcro that down if you need to for spin drift or anything. However, that's not something that I'm ever going to be worried about. At the moment, I'm using the supplied guy lines from MLD. I do have some 3mm glow wire from Lawson Klein on order. It's the yellow. I'm going to swap all that out when it comes in. And at the moment, I do have some of Lawson's red 2mm glow wire on the side panel pullouts. Don't think I'll ever really need to use those, but if I do, it's there. To be quite honest, I may end up swapping that out for some yellow also, because that red may be kind of hard to see. So I don't know, we'll see how it goes. But anyway, so that's it. And I guess now we'll take a look inside and see what things look like in there. Okay, so in opening or closing the Duomid, there's a buckle down here on the bottom. You may be able to see I'm in the sun. There's a buckle down there. Ron recommends leaving that buckle buckled so it'll help take some of the tension off the zipper. So go ahead and leave that buckled, unzip it, and then you can unbuckle it. Now also there's a little snap, I don't know how well you can see it, but there's snaps here, and there's also one on the bottom. And I'm going to tell you, it's a pain in the butt to get that little thing snapped, at least in my limited experience. I've set this thing up, this is the 5th time I've set it up now, and it's just kind of a pain in the butt to do. So we'll see if it gets any better over time. But just undo that. Roll the door back. There's a little loop here with some shock cord and a cord lock. Just kind of feed that through the loop. It's kind of fidgety, but it works. And you can kind of cinch that back so it'll stay open. Now I will say that once I do that, I found that the Duomid does lose some of its tension. It's a little bit looser now. One thing that I can do to help that a little bit is to cinch down on this guy line here, and that'll help kind of tension the Duomid back up. However, before I go to close the doors back, I need to make sure I remember to loosen that up, because with it being tensioned out, it's going to be too much stress to make these buckles meet and to buckle it so I can rezip it. So I have to make sure I do that. So anyway, I know that this doesn't give much perspective, but there it is. And of course I am using the single pole setup. I haven't even tried to fidget with the 2-pole. That's something I'll work on. And in here I have a piece of shock cord hanging down so that I can set up my my internet in here. And I've replaced the zipper pulls with some 1.1 millimeter glow wire. Well, it's not glow wire. It's reflective Dyneema line from Picture Pack Workshop. Really makes it nice at night whenever I'm trying to find my zippers. So I'm going to turn this off because setting up the inner is going to be hard to video, and I've already got a lot of video. I know a lot of folks probably done lost interest, so I'm going to turn this off, set it up, and then I'll do some more video. Alright guys, so there I have the internet installed underneath the Duomid. It kind of gives you a good shot from the front there. And to be quite honest, I think this is the best that I've gotten the internet set up underneath there. And what I mean by best is I think that this is the tension along the front of the mesh part is pretty good. I'll show you what I mean. Just for a point of reference, that is a REI Light Core 1.5. Means it's 1.5 inches thick, but it's 20 inches wide, of course not down at the foot. It's 20 inches wide at this end, and sorry about the sunlight. But anyway, it's 20 inches wide, 72 inches long. It's your regular rectangular pad. But anyway, just to show you at the top here, I've just got a piece of bungee. These are some mitten hooks that come pre-installed in the Duomid. I've got a piece of bungee and a shock cord, a cord lock button on there. And then this is attached to the not the hex nut, but the internet. So all I did was attach that through there, and then I can tension it by adjusting that cord lock. And as you can see here on the back side, there is mitten hooks installed that I could attach to that with some cord, but I don't find that that's necessary at all. I think that that might be something better if this was the Duo inner. And then of course there's some on this side. And what I have to do with this side is I do run it to this opposite side. And you can see that's actually a pretty straight line there. What I found is I think the other times I had the whole internet pushed back just a little bit farther, and because of that I think that there was more I was getting more sag on this front end. Also, there are clips. This is the way each corner is. There's a little stiffener bar in there, and then these are elastic ribbons basically, and then they have a mitten hook attached to them. I just added a little piece of shock cord loop on each side. And what I've done is I've actually attached that loop to the back. There's another mitten hook on the other side in all four corners on the Duomid. And I just attached that to the Duomid. And then the front corners I actually staked out. And that allows me to only use 2 stakes for the internet as opposed to 4. And I've done that on the front and the back. And then you can see on this side, I've also pulled this out. It is nice. There's a nice, another little loop so I can kind of pull the door back and hold it open, so that makes it real nice. So anyway, that's it. Like I said, I may carry it with me on a hike this coming weekend. Not 100% sure at this point in time. I want to, but also, you know, I'm just now getting used to setting it up and fiddling with it, and I want to make sure I've got everything I want it the way it is before I go out on a hike that's going to be raining for 4 days, or all days I'm out, and then also using this for 2 persons. And obviously I can't use a solo internet for 2 people because it's only 1 person. So anyway, as I use it, of course, I'll do more updates and stuff. But anyway, that's it. One thing I do want to say that I forgot to mention earlier is pack size. And to be honest with me, or with you, that's one thing I'm most worried about, is the pack size. I don't know if you remember the differences, but this is for the Duomid here. And you can see it's pretty big. It's actually bigger than that one by quite a bit. And that's going to make it difficult, I think, to find a place to pack it, because usually my tarp, I just put it in one of the outside pockets and I'm good to go. And you can see how small that is. I mean, that's even half the size of that one there, of the hex net. So, I mean, it fits really well, real secure, no worries. Whereas this thing, it takes up a lot more room. The internet's not so bad because I usually pack the internet inside my pack anyway. I just want to have the tarp on the outside of my pack so I can get to it quickly and set it up if I need to. So I'm not worried about that. Besides, that's a lot smaller. That actually, in this stuff sack, it packs down smaller than this. And 2, saying that, I could pack this down the size of that, no problem. I just like having a little bit bigger stuff sack for the internet part, because that will be the part that will be wet. And I don't want to have to try and be squeezing it and scrunching it in a little tiny stuff sack if it's going to be all wet and yucky from mud and stuff. So it just kind of keeps it cleaner. Anyway, so that's it. That's my first look at the Duomid by Laurel Designs. Just so you know, I did pay full price for this. The Duomid was $440, and the internet was I don't know, $260 or something. All I know is with the $5 shipping, it was $680 for both pieces. So I did pay full price. I'm not associated with Laurel Designs in any way, not being paid to talk about this gear or anything like that. Just updating my blog, my YouTube channel, and hoping to share some information with other folks that may be interested in this. So if you have any comments or questions about it, feel free to post them below. I'm not super experienced with this, but I'll try to answer any questions I have. Of course, you can always get in touch with Ron from MLD, send him an email or something, and he'll get back with you. Another YouTube user that has a lot of experience with basically every shelter MLD has, as well as everything else on their site, I think, is Tony Hobbs. You can be sure to check out his site. He's got a lot of videos on Laurel Designs products, and you know, you can find a ton of information there. Plus, Tony's a good guy. I've known him for a while because of YouTube. But he's a good guy. He's always looking to help out if he can. So anyway, guys, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time. Later.